Jerusalem. I was asking one of the seniors around here what one of his favorite memories of college was, or the Newman Center or whatnot. And he paused for a second, and he said one word. He said, Jerusalem. And I was like, He had gone with me and a bunch of students this past summer to the Holy Land. And so we had the opportunity to walk where Jesus walked, to go to the Jordan River where he encountered John the Baptist. We were able to go to the place of the crucifixion. We were able to go to the tomb that was found empty. That Jerusalem is where it all happened. In the Gospel of Luke, of which we're in the last chapter, the entire Gospel is focused on Jerusalem. There's a hinge point in the middle of the Gospel, Luke 9, where it says that Jesus resolutely determined to journey to Jerusalem. That was his goal. That's where he was going. And so today, there's two disciples walking away from Jerusalem. Jesus joins them. He begins to walk with them, ask them questions, try to understand them. And at the end of this encounter with them, after he is revealed in the Scriptures and ultimately in the breaking of bread, that they see him and they rush back to Jerusalem. But if we're honest, if we understand what's going on here, it makes sense that they would want to leave Jerusalem, because to them, what did Jerusalem mean? Jerusalem was the place when their leader and their mentor, their friend, was brutally killed. That all their hopes that they had were smashed. That Jerusalem was the place of disappointment and hurt and shame. And that's the last place we want to be. And so they're getting out. They can't get out of there fast enough. Because why do I want to stay in that place? Because what they see, what they're thinking of, is the cross. And the last thing we want to face in our lives is the pain of the cross. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the movie or read the book, Silence. Story about these Jesuits who went to, kind of fictional story, but based on some real life events, who went to Japan in the 17th century. And in that, I was talking to someone about the movie and the book, and we were discussing how the pivotal thing, the controversial thing, is that here are these Jesuits and here are these people, and they're invited. Do they embrace their faith and have to face the cross? Or do they renounce the faith and turn their back on the cross? And so there's this tension. And there's this voice in the story, and it's clear in the book that the voice that says to the Jesuit priest, it's okay. You can walk away from the cross. You don't need to do this. Which is true, but it's clear in the book that the voice is not from God. Because God freely embraced the cross. And the people, the heroes in the movie, the heroes in the book Silence, are the Japanese people who embraced the cross and through that met their martyrdom and were able to meet their Lord in heaven. And so for you and I, the invitation is the same. That where we feel the weight and the pain and the disappointment, that's the last place I want to turn to. I'd rather go far from it. And I love this reading at the end of a school year, because as we look back, hopefully there's lots of good memories, lots of accomplishments, new friendships, just cool experiences and things. learned a lot. But if we're honest, that a lot of times also there's a lot of baggage. There's disappointments. I've talked to students who had to withdraw from classes, who failed classes, who experienced difficult breakups, estrangement from roommates, sufferings in families. I mean, just all sorts of stuff, right? And as we look at that, a lot of times we get advice from our friends, and they say, you know what, don't think about that stuff. You got to focus on the positive. Just forget that stuff. Focus on the positive and move forward. But the problem with that is that human persons can't let go of that. That human persons remember, and it's like this wound, this hurt, this disappointment, this shame. Gosh, I feel bad for what happened. And the invitation there, the invitation from our Lord, is to actually turn towards those things and to be able to take them and share them with the Lord. To go to our cross, to go to our disappointment and pain, to go to our place of defeats, maybe where we're really just beating ourselves up, to go there and say, Lord, this is what's difficult. This is what's painful. Because precisely at the cross is where we're going to meet the Lord and where the answer to our pain is. Jesus knows that. He meets us wherever we're at, but he invites us to go to the cross. He doesn't force us, but he invites us to go with him to that place where redemption happens. I think of it this other way. It's maybe a little comical, but here's one way that I learned this phrase this past year, and it helps me to think about this kind of difficult stuff. It's a little silly, but Mark Twain said that if the first thing you do in a morning is eat a frog, everything else is easy. And he said that if you have two frogs, you eat the ugly one first. So what's the point? The point is that thing which is most difficult in my life, if I have the courage to face it, everything else is easy. And don't we know that all too well in our lives, that when we have that paper due this week, and we find all sorts of other things to do, right? We're like, oh, yeah, I'm hungry, let's go eat, and then let me just check online, oh, what's this? And that thing that looms doesn't go anywhere. So I ask myself in prayer, as I say, Lord, give me the grace to do what I need to do, but totally don't want to. Lord, give me the grace to go to the cross where I don't want to go, but totally need to. I need to face this pain. I need to face this disappointment, because there is where I'm going to meet our Lord. And as Christians, if this is like, I kind of feel like today, my homily today, like this is a summary. This is like what I have to teach you as a priest. Like if you learned this lesson and go off to graduation or whatever you do, like I did my job. Like St. Paul said, I resolved to proclaim nothing else but Jesus Christ and him crucified. That the cross is where it happens. The cross is the answer. The cross is what God gives us for our redemption. And our temptation is always to turn away from that. The temptation is to take the easy way. That rather than face the difficulty of reality of my life, I can turn to alcohol or relationships or anything, staying busy, rather than to face the difficulty, rather than to admit defeat. The Lord gave me a little grace recently. When God can't get my attention awake, he gets my attention in my dreams. I've been having this recurring dream the last couple of years or something. It's a little silly, but the dream is that I can't get to the Newman Center to start Mass on time.